In this video, we're going to set up the attack for our player. Now that we have a hitbox, let's select the hitbox, and we only need the collider. So let's go ahead and remove the sprite renderer component. You'll see here that now we are left with just a collider. The first thing that we're going to need to do here is the hitbox is it needs to be a trigger. Because if it's not a trigger, then it's going to be hard colliding with objects, and we don't want that. We want it to pass through objects and detect what it hit. So is trigger needs to be checked. And then let's go ahead and add a rigid body 2D to this component so that we can actually use the physics system to detect collisions. From here, you want to make sure that gravity is going to be 0 so that it's not going to fall. Okay, now that we've done that, we can create a script dedicated to detecting hitboxes. So here, let's create in our player folder, let's create an attack script. Call it attack. Make sure it's inside our player folder. Once we've created the attack script, select your hitbox and apply it. So you're going to select the hitbox and drag our attack script over. With the attack script on, what we need to do now is we want to basically say, hey, when should we attack? Basically, what we're going to be checking for here is for on trigger enter to see if we collided with anything. Now, before we do that, you'll notice here that our hitbox is already sticking out at all times. We actually don't want that. So we only want the hitbox to be visible on the second frame of the animation. So the easiest way to solve this would be to take the hitbox and basically just turn off the collider. And through the animation, we're going to re-enable it. So the collider is going to be off traditionally and go into record mode and turn it back on. And you'll see here that if we get out of record mode, it is now going to be on for the first frame and on forever. And then once the animation's done, it should turn off. So if we go ahead and play this, and just to test, we need to add our attack animation here to our controller. Let's click on our sprite. And let's set our attack animation here to the default. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry, guys. We can just run this and just attack to test this out. And you'll see here if I swing, and if we look at this object, so right now the hitbox is off, but if I swing, it's on, and then it goes off. And that's exactly what we want. We only want it to be active during the swing. All right, so what we can do now is we can detect collision by opening up our attack script. Once that's opened in Visual Studios, we're going to be using the onTriggerEnter2D method to determine when we've hit something. So here we're going to say delete void start and update, and we're going to simply say public void, and it doesn't even need to be public, I believe it just needs to be void onTriggerEnter2D. If your tooltip fills it in for you, if you hit enter, it will go ahead and populate everything. Now, traditionally, I like to use other instead of collision. So we're going to say collider 2D other, and other stores the object that we hit. So this is going to be attached to our sword. So here, I just want to say debug.log and print out what we hit. So we're going to say hit, and what did we hit? Other.collider.name. We'll save this. It looks like it's giving us an error here. It says the collider attached to this game object, null if none is attached. It says component collider is obsolete. Oh, it's obsolete. Property collider has been deprecated. Use get component collider. Oh, okay, right. So they no longer want you to just access components like that. So we might just be able to say name, other.name. Save this. Head back into Unity. And what I want to make sure here is that our own sword isn't going to hit us. So I'm going to swing the sword, and I want to make sure it's not going to collide with our player. Because if we look at our player, we also have a box collider 2D. So I want to make sure that we're not going to be attacking ourselves. So let's run the game. And let's swing our sword. And you'll see here that it did exactly what I was worried about. It hit our player. Now, in order to avoid that, we need to basically create a sword layer, and we need to tell the physics system to ignore that layer on the player. So in the next video, we're going to set up our sword layer.